The Select Board, and it's March 13th, 2023. Noting the time and presence of a quorum, I'm going to call for roll. John Markowitz.
Markowitz, aye.
Les Fox.
Present.
Wes Folks.
Present.
And I'm Diana Lopari, and I am present. So now we have the announcements. The FY24 budget is now posted on the town's website. Please visit the Select Board page to view it. The Public Ceremonies and Celebrations Committee and the Personnel Board are looking for members. If you are interested, you may find the resident interest form under the quick links on our home webpage of www.boxborough-ma.gov. There is a new career opportunity for a full-time town treasurer/tax collector and in police dispatch. See the front page of the town's website for more information. The Boxborough Library Spring Used Book Sale is coming on to us from March 31st to April 2nd. A preview sale for members on Friday, March 31st from 5 to 7 p.m. Memberships will be available at the door if you're not already a member. The main public sale will take place on Saturday, April 1st from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. The Everything Must Go sale will be held on Sunday, April 2nd from 2 to 4 p.m. Standard sized bags will be provided. Pay $2 to fill each bag however you like. The sale will take place in the meeting room of the Sargent Memorial Library at 427 Massachusetts Avenue. Proceeds from the sale of books will go towards additional library programs and museum passes. Cash and checks only. Please support the sale by donating your gently used hardcovers, paperbacks, and audiovisual items and attending the sale. Books will be accepted from Monday, March 27th through Thursday, March 30th at the library during regular library hours. The Boxborough Minutemen Company wants you. The Boxborough Company of Minutemen will hold a company meeting on Sunday, March 19th at the Boxborough Community Center at 30 Middle Road, starting at 8 p.m. For information, please contact Captain Tony Newton at captain@boxboroughminutemen.org or by calling him at 617-448-5931. For more information, visit www.boxboroughminutemen.org. There will be a 5K road race to benefit the new Blanchard Playground on April 2nd, beginning at 11 a.m. Please see the town's website for more information, and this is sponsored by the Recreation Committee. If you have a concern about an item that is not listed on the agenda, please raise it during community concerns. If you have a question or comment about an item that is on the agenda, you will be recognized after the board members have had an opportunity to get their questions answered. Due to time constraints, the board may not be able to accommodate comments from all residents on all topics. Please wait to be recognized by the chair before addressing the board. This is a forum for public input, questions, and criticism. However, we ask that all participants be respectful and civil. We thank you for your understanding. Just a quick note before we move on to the agenda. I just want people to know that we have moved the community concerns to 7 p.m. It is the intention of this board to take community concerns beginning at that time or shortly thereafter, depending upon finishing up a discussion on a prior item on the agenda. So while our regular board meetings will continue at 6 p.m., community concerns will not be taken before 7 p.m. So now we're moving on to the first item of the agenda, which is the approval of minutes, the regular session minutes of 2/27/23. And I'm going to make the motion. I move to approve the regular session minutes of February 27, 2023 as presented. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Okay. John?
Markowitz, aye.
Les?
Fox, aye.
Wes?
Fox, aye.
And Lopari, aye. The next item is the approval of the common victualers license for the run, the BXB 5K. I move to approve the common victualler's license for the Run BXB 5K as presented. And we're also going to do the second item, which is I move to approve the special one-day liquor license for the Run BXB 5K as presented.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
one thing, we're still waiting on some documentation. So we may want to table at least the one-day liquor license until your next meeting, and there'll still be time to approve it for that.
okay, very good. So the motion then will just be to approve the common victualler's license for the Run BXB 5K as presented. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, John,
Markowitz, aye.
Les,
Fox, aye.
Wes,
Box eye.
and Lepari, aye. So now we go to opening the warrant. I move to inform all departments, boards, committees, commissions, and the public at large that the warrant of the 2023 annual town meeting shall open for such submissions as this date of March 13, 2023. And then, do I have a second on that?
Second.
Any discussion? John,
Markowitz, aye.
Les,
Fox, aye.
Wes,
Box eye.
and Lepari, aye. So Mike, do you want to tell us what this is about?
Yes, this is one article that we need to add into the annual town meeting warrant, and it's one that is typically in there, although it may not have been last year. But this is a fund that typically holds between $35,000 to $50,000 to backfill money used for public safety injured on duty. That fund is currently depleted, and so it's been suggested that we put it on the warrant to fund this with free cash with $50,000.
Do we have the actual warrant article to vote on?
Yep.
Yes.
Second.
Yeah, it's on page 8 of your document
packet.
packet.
Right. Did you want to put it up on the screen? Great. Super. Okay. So, given that, I'm going to make the motion first and then we can discuss it. I move to add the police fire injury coverage transfer warrant articles to, I guess it's one article, to the 2023 annual town meeting warrant. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Do we have some discussion on this issue?
I think it's, and this is the first year I can remember for a while where it's run low. But I'm not sure. When's the last time this happened?
That
Anyone know?
No, I don't know. But we have had several officers injured.
Yep.
It's probably what's been going on.
Yeah. So it's not a regular occurrence.
Well, but I think it's something that we just need to do. I think it's almost a requirement.
Correct. I think
This
so.
is to keep a fund at hand so that we can do the pay through while the insurance proceeds are being settled out, correct?
I
That's
believe-
correct. And
Yep.
currently we are awaiting a check for $10,000 from the insurance company. So that'll bring it up a little bit. But, but that, while we have people out injured, that could also get depleted. And so it's not only paying the officer directly, while they await payment from or while we await repayment from the insurance company, but it also covers any overtime or other cost to backfill that position while somebody is out of the workforce temporarily.
Right. There can be quite a delay between when the applications come in and when the insurance settlement actually happens.
Right, especially for an initial application. Some of them are tricky because they've got to go see a doctor, sometimes a second opinion, and all the while, the insurance company isn't going to be paying until they, run it through both the medical side as well as their administrative side for approvals, and then,
Right.
then they make their payment.
Okay. Any further discussion? So this is for a motion to add the article to the warrant.
That's
John,
correct.
Markowitz, aye.
Les,
Fox eye.
Wes,
Both aye.
and Lupari, aye. So now I move to inform all boards, committees, commissions, and the public at large that the warrant of the 2023 annual town meeting shall close at this time of March 13th, 2023. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? John,
Markowitz, aye.
Les,
Fox eye.
Wes,
Both aye.
and Lupari, aye. So now we move on to the meeting warrant itself. So can we show that on the screen as we go through these? Okay. Somebody talking there? I can't.
Yeah, it's less has background noise.
Okay, whoever's turning the pages, we could go to page 20 in the
One thing,
packet.
just one second. I noticed on the warrant itself that there is no select board recommendation in the beginning for an article, which is, I think, one of them.
Article 4.
Yeah, Article 4.
And that's because you haven't voted that one yet.
Oh, okay.
Right.
So that's,
So that's page 20. So that I had asked you to hold off on voting that one at your last meeting because I wanted to make sure to, in case there were any other bills that came in. And this is what we have thus far, a total of just shy of $3,000, covering 6 different prior year bills.
okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Is Kelly or Rajan, whoever running the screen, could you build it up to a 1-page view so we can read it? Font's awfully small at my end.
It is on mine too. Yeah, switch it to 1 page, which would be helpful. So this is the payment of the prior fiscal year bills. This is in the special town meeting section.
Right.
Okay, so do I have a move to recommend this article? Do
So moved.
you have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
We go back, is this now in the special or in the annual?
This is in the
This is
special.
a special.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Okay.
You seeing that page blown up now?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Is there any further discussion on this? So, John,
Markowitz, aye.
Les,
Fox eye.
Wes,
Both aye.
and Lopari, aye. So our next one is okay, set salaries and compensation. I'm going to move to recommend Article 3, setting salaries and compensation of elected officials. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, so discussion on this article.
When do we need to take action to either defer or decline our stipend?
That's a good question. I would assume we would have to amend it at this point on town floor because right now I believe it's in the budget. I think that's what we heard the last time. So
How did we manage to get that money to flow into an employee activity budget
I
last
think
year?
it's in both places right now, I believe. So that's why we have to amend this on town floor because it's in the budget currently. So sometime between now and town meeting, we need to take a vote on accepting this or not taking it. And then we can propose an amendment on town meeting floor. Am I correct, Mike?
I believe that's correct.
Mhm. So at
Yeah,
this,
let's just make sure we know that one way or the other, there's going to be money in an account for employee appreciation.
Right.
yes, we'll double check, but I'm pretty sure it's there, Mike, isn't it?
Yes.
I don't have the budget in front of me, but
Yes, it is in the budget.
it's in both places right now. So that's
Okay.
why.
Correct.
Okay. All right. So, shall we ready to take a vote on this one? Okay. John,
Markowitz, aye.
Les,
Fox, aye.
Wes,
Nay.
and Lepari, aye. So you'll write the minority view.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on. So now I don't think we voted on this one.
Oh, you did
We did
not.
not.
Les had a couple of questions from last time, and those Rajan brought those to the personnel board. They discussed them at length. They did make some changes. They felt that his questions were right on point, so they made some minor adjustments to address, I think it was sick bank leave technical questions, and Rajan and Les have had some back and forth on that, and I think an agreement. So the personnel plan was not substantially changed from what the personnel board and Rajan had brought forward, other than the technical parts that Les had picked up on. And I believe Les can speak to this one, but I think he was satisfied with the answers that he got. And I don't know if you want to talk on that any further, Les.
No, I am. My only concern was that the appeal process around the whole sick bank piece, be very clear about what the mechanics are and the timing. And there were some exchanges, including Lee Slade. And at the end of the day, it was all good in my view. So I think it's been dealt with satisfactorily. I think the last thing you want to do is have an ambiguous process getting in the way of people who may be appealing something. So that was what I was trying to address.
Okay, so we have two votes on this article. The first one concerns the language of the plan, and the second one concerns the compensation schedule, which includes the 2% COLA increase. So let's vote on version one first. Vote on vote one. So I move that the board recommend to vote on for vote one on Article 4, amending the 2024 personnel plan. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? John,
Markowitz, aye.
Les,
Fox, aye.
Wes,
Folks, aye.
and Lepari, aye. And then the second vote concerns the compensation schedule and includes the COLA. So I recommend, I move that the board recommend the vote 2 concerning the compensation schedule and the COLA increase of 2.9% wage adjustment. Do I have a second?
Second, and now to ask a question, I think when you were summarizing that just a minute ago, Diana, I thought I heard you say 2%, but it's actually 2.9%.
Right, it's 2.9. I just changed it now. It's 2.9. I
Yeah.
did it in the motion. Yeah. So here's my question about this. I know that we had talked about building this in some way and not voting on these COLA increases. Is that correct, Mike?
We had talked about that, and I think the discussion was, that Rajan and I would go and do a compensation or actually a COLA comparative with our comparable communities, which we compare against 19 other communities, so 20 including ourselves. And then we would also do a statewide survey. And this is for next year. So what you're voting on is this year. But for next year, we would look at, for example, we actually did a survey just to see what it would look like right now. And it's around 2%. The COLA averages, while there are some that are higher, the couple that are significantly higher, they don't have steps. So their COLA increase includes step and COLA. Ours is broken out separately. People are eligible to move up in steps based on performance and COLA based on the cost of living. So it's running around just a little above 2% right now. The other thing that we discussed is if we move from the model that's used right now, which is using the national CPI, average for the past 3 years monthly. So looking at 36 different measures. If we moved away from that next year, that we would not immediately drop. In other words, we would take the higher of 2. At least that was part of the discussion. So let's say next year ended up being 2.7 or 2.8 or 2.9%, and we come up with an average just based with our comparable communities of say 2.1%. The discussion, and I don't think there was a decision, but the discussion was that we would go with the higher of the 2. So if, let's say it ended up at 2.8 for the CPIs and 2.2 of our comparable communities, that we go with the 2.8. That's not been decided, but certainly I'd be willing to talk about that at town meeting, so at least people had a year's heads up if we were going to change anything. And there's been no decision whether the process will change or not at this point.
I also thought there was some discussion about not voting this increase, somehow building it into the steps. Because I know this was a question a couple of years ago at town meeting. So perhaps I'm not remembering this correctly, but I know, do we have to vote on a COLA, or can that just automatically be given if you establish a process?
It does not have to be voted necessarily. You're gonna vote. Let me retract what I was about to say. It does need to get voted. It doesn't necessarily have to be voted or decided by the select board and FinCom, but ultimately, whether you decide your COLA and vote that at town meeting, or build your COLA into your pay plan and then have the pay plan decided at town meeting, one way or another, the voters are going to decide on that. I would suggest that you keep your steps and your COLA separate, because they're very different animals. The steps are what people can work to achieve through performance and being with the organization over time, whereas the COLA is really more reflective of what's the cost of living doing, as far as how far does the dollar go as far as buying goods in the market.
Right.
Okay, great. Any further discussion on vote?
As long as people are thinking about possibly taking a look at this next year for next cycle, what we do now is we take a 3-year average, right? So we're never actually changing it year by year, but we're diddling with the formula. So as long as we're thinking about a way to make this more responsive, say, to market surprises, just whoever's going to be doing this, think about that. I mean, should it be more of a guideline with a final number to be voted on based upon current events by personnel board and recommended, or just hardwired into a formula that's cast in stone, so to speak?
Yeah, I think Les, you're absolutely right. There should be a discussion later on, because the town has played games with this, and it's only hurt the people who worked in town hall, because there's been times when the 3-year average was higher than people wanted. So they said, oh, well, we'll give them half the year, and then we'll look at it again a half year later. I mean, and that doesn't make the employees in town hall or the employees in town feel valued. And I think that's what we really want to accomplish.
Right. So my point is, as long as we're looking at this, let's take a look at the whole picture.
Right.
One of the advantages of looking at your comparatives across other communities versus your CPI is you get less wild swings. So, instead of, and there are different communities that do it differently, but ones that do look at the CPI, you might have a 0% or 0.5% or 1% one year, and then over a couple of years later, it might swing up like what we're seeing now with the 2.9 or a little over 3%. What I've noticed over time is that when you're comparing with your surrounding communities, those that are comparable to you, you tend to stay a little more stable, probably more in the 2 to 2.5 range. It seems to be, which is, I think that's probably better for employees for knowing what their budgets are going to be, but it's also good for the town to have a predictable budget process, knowing that it's not swinging wildly up and down. Now, I use wildly probably a little too generously, because we're not talking about a huge number of employees, but it still does create a little bit of imbalance to people's personal finances and the town budget.
Right.
I think the other thing that's been happening to the town employees is that they're always trying to play catch up, because we're looking backwards at what happened over 3 years. And so all of a sudden you may have a high year now where people are impacted with that number today, but then we go, oh, but the last 2 years were much lower. So we're not going to give you the whole, we can't compensate you for what inflation is today because of the previous 2 years. And so, but later on, you're going to get it. Okay. And it's like, okay, let's make it more real, I think.
Wes?
Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate my point that I had made when we had this conversation before, in that I'm fine with modifying it, but I think that we should just make sure we have a stable transition plan where an employee would do no worse than either the current means of calculating or the new means of calculating it, just so that way we don't, and there would be a transition period of, I would recommend the board for 3 years, just so that way we can say you're not missing out on anything and you will do. I just want to make sure that, because if we change it right now when the inflation is really high, even in 2 years, to John's point, we're kind of saying, oh, you'll get it in 2 years. Psych, just kidding. And I want to make sure that they understand that it's not the types of game they're playing.
I agree. Okay, are we ready to vote?
No,
Okay,
I still have some more discussion, because I'm just, I'm looking for input, but because we're going forward in the special town meeting with changing our information technology, we're looking at a migration. I really wonder, do we really need to pay a technical liaison this year where we haven't really had those services for the past year? Should we just not include that this year?
are you talking on the compensation schedule?
Yes.
That technical liaison. Oh, in the stipends. Is that in Article 3 as well? I guess
No,
not.
it's only here.
That's a good point. Well, remember, this is only if it comes up. It's not authorizing payment.
No, I think it does authorize payment.
No, it just gives the rate. And that's kind of a rate which
Where does the payment get authorized?
the payment would get authorized ordinarily in the budget. And I don't know, now you're asking a good question, is it in the budget still? It may very well be. I don't have the budget in front of me, but there is an IT section in the budget.
I think we left that in the budget because it is still in a contract, and the way that would get implemented, Diane is correct, it wouldn't get implemented because of this.
Okay.
This pay chart, it would get implemented through someone's contract.
Okay. All right. Okay, I'm glad that was clarified. Thank you.
So it doesn't affect this particular compensation schedule. Okay, so vote 2 on the compensation schedule and the cost of living increase of 2.9%. John?
Markowitz, aye.
Les?
Fox, aye.
Wes?
Folks, aye.
And Lepari, aye. So our next one. I'm assuming we're not voting on the budget tonight. Overall, to recommend?
Correct. We haven't inserted the budget into this
Right.
yet.
Okay. So the establishment of the fall town meeting, are we doing that one tonight? Or did we go?
What about Article 6?
Yeah, you voted that
We
one.
voted that one, right? I'm sorry.
Voted that one last time. So Article 6.
Mhm.
So this one, we're still in negotiations. Okay, so this is the, you haven't voted this one yet. This is the part-time position for the accountants department, accounting department. So as part of the budget, currently in FY23, the person who's working in the accounting department part-time as an administrative assistant is 20 hours there, and then also 20 hours in the police department. The police department has asked for a 40-hour position. And if this person goes over there, that would leave the accounting office empty. So this, what you see in this article is to add a 19.5-hour position, so a part-time non-benefited position into the accounting office in town hall as an administrative assistant. And the salary for that would be $27,700, not eligible for health benefits.
Okay.
And that's under the personnel plan.
So I move to recommend the article regarding the addition to staff part-time for $27,700. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. So I just would like to say I'm happy to see that the tax impact is back to each article. Hopefully the finance committee is doing that for every article. I think that's really much more transparent than putting it all at the end.
Yes,
So-
they've been calculating that for all of these. You'll see that to each of the ones that has a financial impact.
I think that's really good for the taxpayers. I know the finance committee stopped doing that for a while, but I think this is much more clarifying. Okay, do we have any further discussion? John,
Markowitz, aye.
Les,
Fox, aye.
Wes? Wes
Folks, sorry. I was just trying to unmute my microphone. Folks,
and Lepari, aye.
I think you voted this one, yes. Last time you voted this one.
Cable services and equipment is the next one that I have. I don't have a number.
Well, they're not numbered yet. That's
After
a
your,
job for us in the upcoming meeting.
here we go.
Okay.
So what we'll do, we hadn't numbered them to this point, even though it leaves it a little bit confusing, because once we know what the, where we have unanimous votes for select board and FinCom, we'll stop moving articles to the consent agenda. And we're actually, we're going to start doing that in the morning. And then on Wednesday, we're meeting with the town moderator and kind of organize and number the articles. So this is the cost of cable services for next week. We've met a number of times. Rajan has been busy working with the folks from Cable Access to come up with these figures. And these figures are based on the number of meetings that we project will be recorded and broadcast in FY24. And these funds, there's no financial input back to the town. This money, this comes from the cable fees that the town receives. It's about just shy of 120,000.
And so that's going to be enough to cover it.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so I move that to have the board recommend the cable services and equipment article for $119,899 from the cable fund. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? John,
Markowitz, aye.
Les,
Fox, aye.
Wes,
Folks,
And Lepari, aye. While we're scrolling for the next one, I just had a quick question since you're meeting with the moderator, Mike. On our stipend, if we make an amendment on the floor to amend that to 0, I'm assuming then we have to have another amendment to the budget to remove it from the budget as well.
I did actually, since we talked about that article, I did receive an email from Maria that the select board salaries are not in the budget. I believe what happened there was that those were moved to where your intention is to do employee recognition. And I'll let you know if I get another email back.
So the question is then, can we just change the warrant article? Do we need to put it in there and amend it on town floor?
Well, I think Diana, we never took a vote. So I think we could take a vote tonight
Okay,
to agree to that and then make the amendment to that warrant article.
well, it's not on the agenda. We might add it for,
Okay. Okay.
let's add it for
Okay.
the meeting.
Okay.
You could probably, I mean, you are voting on the articles. I think you could take a vote on that this evening, and we're
You think
going to
so?
Yeah, I think you're safe to do that because it's just a minor language change. If the money's already in the budget and not in your salaries, all we're doing is moving to get the language in the article to reflect what we're actually doing. I think you're fine to do that.
Okay, do you want to do that now or should we wait till the end?
I think you can do it now.
Okay, then, I move to remove our $400 stipend per person for the select board as currently in Article 3. To remove it to make it 0.
And Maria may have something to add. She's got her hand
Yeah,
raised.
Maria?
Kirby, could you?
Hi,
Oh, there we go.
can you guys hear me?
Can,
So it is budgeted under events where you want it budgeted. The only concern, and this is something we talked about last year with respect to Article 3 and adjusting those salaries, is if somebody new gets elected, and presumably somebody new will get elected, and they want to collect their salaries, you need to have it in Article 3. We'll find it in the budget if we have to, but you need to have it in salaries in Article 3. So if you zero that out, then people can't get paid for it. Right, Mike? Am I right on that?
Yeah, that's a good point. It's probably better now to leave it in both places now that you mention it. And then you probably back to what you had first mentioned, Diana, is make the change on town meeting floor, because then you'll know.
no, we won't.
You will
no, you
not
won't.
know.
That's right.
No,
Your
but-
elections are after here.
But if it's in there,
Right.
it doesn't have to be accessed, correct, Marie?
Correct. It does not need to be accessed, but it can be. And like I said, your salaries are not budgeted. It's budgeted under events for $27.50. That's where the money is for that.
So
But
if
you're
someone
not
chose-
using that full amount. So
If someone chose to take the $400,
Yep.
then that you would do a reserve fund transfer somehow?
or we would probably take it, we would probably, we could, we do something, take it out of salaries, reserve fund transfer. I guess that's what we would have to do early on in the year.
So we would have to
yeah.
take a vote, I'm assuming, after the election.
Or you
Or
could
to
take it back out of,
clarify.
or you could take it back out of the event and put it back to the salary, right?
No,
You've
no, I'm
got to
just
do that
saying-
with a vote, Mike, though. You can't just do that straight up. Like we could use that funds eventually.
So I'm assuming we need,
No, but
after the
I
election,
think,
need to take a vote to clarify it for everyone at that point.
I don't think you would have to. If you all voted tonight that you didn't want your salary, but you left it in Article 3 and you didn't amend Article 3, if somebody comes on, I mean, you could revote it, or they could just say, I do want my salary.
Okay, so we can. leave
And
it.
it's, as long as it's in Article 3, that's the mechanism by which we would then be able to do reserve fund. However, we would fund that salary amount.
Okay, John?
yeah, I mean, another way to do this is just to put it in the budget as our salary. And then when the people who are elected for the next fiscal year, they could then take a vote to move it to events.
They can't, John, because the way our salary, that would be under salaries versus events. And I don't think the select board can make that change until May, right? You can do interdepartmental transfers at the end of the year. Once it's in events, it stays in events, and that's a separate line item, and that gets voted as a separate line item.
Well, is a
So-
stipend a salary or is it an expense?
I think it would go under salary. It's not an
well,
expense. I don't know
Maybe,
that
but
for
if it's just an expense, you could do away with it.
Well, keep in mind too, if we put in that amount, then you're taxing the taxpayers for something you may or may not take. So that's the other issue. I mean, it's only $400.
Right.
So, per person, granted, per person. But I mean, you're then taxing the taxpayer, you may or may not take it. I mean, I don't think we'd be comfortable with that.
So at this point, leaving it in there and it's not in the budget, that's fine. Right now, we have the event budget. After the election, the select board will take a vote, we'll clarify it for everyone, or perhaps the
And figure
question,
it out.
maybe individual people can just write a note saying, I choose not to accept, as opposed to a vote.
Right. And there have been other committees that have done that it's not been a big vote. It's been or the
Individual.
committee votes to take it, but the individuals send notes and emails to the treasurer and say, I don't want it. So there's other committees that have done that.
John, did you have something else?
No, I'm done.
Okay. All right,
Thanks.
then let's not vote on this tonight. I don't think we need to, given that. Thank you for the clarification, Maria.
Yep.
Okay,
So
so,
we're onto revolving funds.
mhm. Expense limits, okay. And just having the spending limits down the revolving funds, okay. I move that the board recommend the article concerning the departmental revolving funds expense limits. Have a second.
Second,
Any discussion? John,
Markowitz, aye.
Les,
Fox eye.
Wes,
Folks,
and Lepari, aye.
Okay, so the $300,000 bond for road maintenance.
Mhm. So I move that the select board recommend a $300,000 bond and $355.80 to the Transportation Network Company for road maintenance.
Second,
Okay, discussion?
so just a point of clarification, it's not the Transportation Network Company. This is incoming revenue from Ubers, Lyfts, and other ride sharing that we get. We are not paying out that money.
Okay,
So this is a funding source being the Transportation Network.
okay. So we're taking a
So-
bond.
so is there a,
So it's a bond plus the $355 is the total amount appropriated for the Department of Public Works road maintenance.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. So do I have a second as amended?
second?
Any,
Just, since it's including bonding as well as just straight, revenue from TNC, is the motion okay as it stands? Because if it's a bonding, article to accept the money from the bond, I don't know, I think we could do it the way it's written. But someone to check.
I'm not sure what I said, quite honestly.
The vote is appropriate from available
Yes,
funds
Kirby?
or borrow. I think it covers
You
it.
could Take a look at your wordsmithing, Madam Chair, on the second line. Instead of saying 80 cents, it says 8.
It says 80 cents on my. On
No,
this,
the text
Oh,
says 8.
oh, the
The
text.
text
but I-
says 8.
We'll correct that. There's another thing I noticed down here in the bottom of the summary. We'll change that. That's probably from prior years, that 897. So we'll get that to match the 355. So we'll correct those two
Yeah.
things.
I mean, the plan here is we want to borrow the 300 and then take the cash from TNC.
Correct.
So, okay, let me restate. I move that we bond $300,000 for road maintenance, and in addition to receive $355.80 from the Transportation Network for said road maintenance.
Second,
John,
Markowitz, aye.
Les,
Fox eye.
Wes,
Folks,
and Lepari, aye. Okay, we did that one.
Okay, on this one, you may have seen in the draft last time, we had 180,000 from free cash, and that was the same amount that we briefed you, or that Ed did at Capital Saturday. We've increased this amount by $100,000, and that's an estimate. We're waiting on the figure for the engineering, and we've also we've put in $50,000 for that. We've also added $50,000 for any hazardous waste cleanup that we would have to do in case there was any fuel spill from either the diesel or the gasoline tanks. There may be none, and that money would go back to free cash. So basically, no tax implication on this one. It's the 280,000 is out of free cash, and this is something that we have to do. Our insurance company has told us that if we don't replace these tanks, they may not be able to insure us again this year. And we paid a very high premium on it last year, and we had $100,000 deductible per tank if we would have any incident. I do notice that we have a typo here. We'll change this so that matches the 280,000 up in free cash.
Okay. So I move that the select board recommends taking $280,000 from free cash to replace the underground, to remove and to remove the underground fuel tanks and install new above ground tanks. Do I have a second?
Second,
Second, and it is 280, right?
That's correct, 280.
Discussion, anything?
No, I
Okay,
think it's a smart idea to make sure it's enough to cover any kind of 21E or spillage
Right.
issue.
that's right.
Good thinking.
Mhm. John,
Markowitz, aye.
Les,
Fox eye.
Wes,
folks,
and Lepari, aye.
Before we go on, to go back to the backhoe, did we actually already vote that last time? I didn't see it. It went by.
You did.
We did.
We did.
Okay.
And the good thinking that Les mentioned on this one, the carrying extra to cover the fuel tanks, that credit goes to Ed Kukla, our DPW director, and he's the one getting the engineering prices. And he worked with a couple of companies to come up with the $50,000 estimate in case we do have a fuel spill there that we don't know of, or if there's any spill while the tanks are being removed.
Okay, we're zipping through these. Okay. Body cameras. So why did we not vote on this before? Did we?
So I recommend you didn't vote on this last time. What's going on here is we have a grant to buy the body cameras. The 7,425 is for storage, digital storage for the images that come off of the cameras. But there's negotiation ongoing with the police union as far as what it would take for them to wear these cameras. I will say there is a benefit to both the police officers as well as to the town for the police officers' protection and liability, as well as the town's liability. So there's a dual benefit to having these cameras. And as I mentioned, the cameras are already covered through a state grant, but there may be a small amount that the police officers get by way of a stipend for this, and that's still a negotiation. But I think at this point, you should vote in favor of this. But if we can't come to an agreement with the union, then we'll forego the grant and and we won't raise and appropriate this 7425.
Okay.
Uh,
I'm
Question for Wes. Wes, maybe I asked this last time, but I forget. Can the storage for these camera images not go into our general cloud storage that we're going to be getting into, or does it need to be carved out so that it's CJIS compliant and all that stuff?
That is mostly correct. I mean, the other side of it too is there's syncing software and other stuff like that. And typically when you buy these cameras, they have a software package that automatically downloads and uploads it to cloud storage and provides you with the means of going back to a certain day and time for certain like indexing and searching, and then producing these for court and or other needs.
I'm just pointing out that we don't need to pay twice for storage. We're going to be getting a lot of storage for the town, but this has some special attributes.
Correct.
Okay, so I move that the select board recommend the article regarding the storage for body cameras for the police department, raising and appropriating $7,425 for that storage. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
I'm wondering if the article should state department storage for body cam images as opposed to the cameras. Because that's what this really is.
Yeah, absolutely. That actually makes sense. We'll change that because when it's not like a locker where we're storing the cameras away. It's actually
No,
image
that's a good
storage.
point.
So we'll change it.
Body camera
image
digital,
/ video.
digital images / video.
Yeah, that's a good amendment.
Okay, so does who seconded the motion? Do you second this as amended?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So any further discussion? John?
Markowitz, aye.
Les?
Fox eye.
Yes?
Folks,
And Lepari, aye. Okay. Highway
this-
reimbursement program.
Okay, this is just, this is a standard article just to accept reimbursement from the state for our Chapter 90 program for road maintenance.
Okay. I move that the select board recommend the article regarding Chapter 90 Highway Reimbursement Program.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? John?
Markowitz, aye.
Les?
Fox eye.
Wes?
folks,
And Lepari, aye.
Okay, this is one you voted. Well, actually, you voted to put this on the warrant. Now, this is the one, the first thing you discussed, and this is to put money back in the IOD for public safety fund.
Okay, I move, we don't have a warrant number on here. It should say article too. I move to accept the article regarding transferring $50,000 from free cash to the police fire injury coverage fund. Injury leave indemnity fund.
second,
John?
Markowitz, aye.
Les?
Fox eye.
Wes?
folks,
And Lepari, aye.
One thing of, you've already voted this one, but one thing of note here, I recommended to the finance committee that we add $5,000 to this one. It was originally $10,000 free cash. We wanted to make sure that we had enough to do an initial evaluation of both the steel farmhouse as well as the current museum, so that we can repurpose those buildings. So it's now 15,000. We voted this one last time in favor of.
Mhm.
Okay, so there are two votes here. This first one is in 2022, the town voted to put in $20,000 towards a FEMA grant, and that would cover 5% of this tanker. Since then, the price of this apparatus has gone up. So to put in for the grant and still come up with a 5% match, we need another $8,000. So this vote is to move the $20,000 forward to FY24 and add an additional $8,000 in free cash to match the FEMA grant, so that we can then purchase what's a vehicle or a tanker that's worth $560,000. And here's a breakdown of the total cost. $560,000 total. FEMA, if we get the grant, and we should know in early May, so we may know before town meeting. If we get it, FEMA would fund $532,000. We would be funding the $28,000 as I described. And this vote that you're taking is to move $8,000 from free cash to match that grant.
Okay, so just go back up to the article so I can see what I'm motioning. I make a motion that the select board recommend the article for $8,000 from free cash towards the replacement of the fire department's tender 65 tanker, grant funded. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, I'd like a question for Mike. Mike, I exchanged a mail with you earlier about how I found the language confusing between these two articles. The main event here is that we need a little more money to cover the match part of the grant, which we hope to get. So the second article is just a hedge in case we don't get that grant. But the discussion kind of mixes up in my mind whether we're talking about a tanker or a hose wagon. That's not the main event.
Right.
And you said you had some thoughts about clarifying that. This looks like the original language, I think.
Yes, so what we're replacing is an old, what I guess was called an old hose wagon. What we're buying is actually they're referred to as either a tanker or a tender.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the part that when you say that the requested tender is to replace the hose wagon, it really is sort of instead of a hose wagon.
Correct.
Okay. So any further discussion? John,
Markowitz, aye.
Les,
Fox eye.
Wes,
Folks,
and Lepari, aye.
Okay, this next article is in case we don't get the grant, then it would be to fund the entire $560,000 to borrow, to basically to bond it. And this would be a 2/3 required vote because it's a bonding article. I suggest you table this one for now and hope that we get the grant, because you can always vote this one just before town meeting or on town meeting floor if we don't get the grant, if you choose to support this article.
Okay.
Yeah, and while we're at it, Mike, I think a better title here would help a lot. You know,
Yeah. No, it's probably better to match it.
Yes, I thought we had changed that. I apologize. It looks like some old language. has
I'm not sure what the other one is.
snuck back in. They should both have the same language saying tender. We'll change that so they match.
Right.
Yeah,
And that the
Yeah.
only difference will be that this one, it'll be basically be this title, grant funded. The second one will be without grant,
right.
but the same title. So we're talking about the same piece of equipment.
Yeah, that's the main event that people need to pay attention to, not whether it's a hose wagon or a tanker.
Right. We'll get that hose wagon
Yeah.
language out of the title.
Great.
Okay.
Excuse me, what's going on with the green communities? I had sent Kelly and Mike I fairly extensively reworded early part of the article to correct some things that are actually incorrect in this language here. Do you have that up? Do you want to show it, or do you want to pass it by the Sustainability Committee first?
I thought I ought to show it to the Sustainability Committee before we change the language. I did see what you wrote. It made
Yeah.
sense to me, but I didn't want to change the language on an article that's theirs without consulting with them.
Yeah, do you want me to get involved in that, or do you want to take care of it?
I'm fine if you want to reach over to them with your language. It made sense to me, and just touch base with Francie or whoever would be appropriate, probably Francie Noldy.
Okay,
And then just let me know, and then we can update the language. And if it's before Wednesday, then we'll have whatever the updated language is to talk over with Dennis as we meet with the moderator.
okay.
We're meeting with him at, I think, 1:30. So this one you did not vote yet.
Yes,
This is the citizen petition.
right. Okay, so I make a motion that the select board recommend the cost of investigation, the article asking for $20,000 from free cash to investigate the cost of the investigation into the Boxborough Police Department and the chief of police. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Discussion. So, let me, if you want to speak first, John, you can.
Yeah, what I wanted to say is, I looked at this article and I actually support the spirit of the article. I think some of the information that they're requesting is already available. I personally, I don't think I've nothing to hide with what we've done. So I mean, I'm fine with letting them go forward and trying to convince the town to spend the money. I'm not so sure that it should come out of free cash. That's my only concern. I don't see why it should come out of free cash, but I support the spirit of the article.
Okay, Wes?
I'm a little confused by that, but I guess I don't know if I can really recommend this article because this is what we're discussing, not necessarily the spirit of the article.
Okay.
And it would additionally be my hope that the majority, as much this information because I don't even know what information can be released at this time. And I mean, I think once it's all said and done, it was my understanding that it was the intent of the board to do the majority of this stuff. I don't know if in the granularity of this, and I don't really know if there's necessarily a benefit in terms of the granularity served or just a approximation or near right? Because you're spending money to then dig and partition things into buckets that don't necessarily provide any logical value, at least in my opinion. And it's like creating work for the sake of creating work and spending taxes. And so my intention and my hope would be that we would produce a lot of the summarizations that they're looking for in the spirit of it, but not necessarily at this granular level. And I mean, that's just my thinking. And so I'm not going to recommend this, but that's Yeah.
I mean, Wes, you raise a good point. Okay. I mean, would I recommend spending the money if that's what I'm being asked to do here? No, I wouldn't recommend spending the money.
That's what the
Am I-
recommendation would be. So
But
your
am I-
recommendation would be to support spending money.
But am I recommending that the article be placed on the warrant?
That's not what it's already in the warrant. What we are doing is we are recommending if
Okay.
we're voting on if the select board is recommending this article to town meeting.
Right.
It is in the
but
warrant
if we-
already.
But I think we should make it clear, if we don't recommend it, it's not that we have anything to hide. I mean, I think part of it is this a proper use of town funds? And I guess that's why I'm a little surprised that the finance committee voted 5-0 that they think this is a proper use of town funds. And not only that, they think it's a proper use of free cash
And staff time.
So,
and staff time.
so let me just say, I agree that this is an article that is asking for $20,000 from free cash to provide information that will be provided when we can provide it. I feel that this board has absolutely nothing to hide. As a matter of fact, I would say that when we can do it, we should provide such an accounting to the best of our ability. The idea of spending $20,000 to do some sort of a forensic audit seems like, I'm sorry, but a waste of town money. And so a lot of these documents are all subject to public meeting, to public records requests, unless they cannot be released for some reason, which we're governed by law. So, but in terms of expenses, I don't believe there is a problem with that. So I'm having difficulty with the concept. I understand your point, John, about the spirit of the law, of the article. I agree with you about the spirit of it. And I think it's always important to be transparent. It is regretful that the town thinks we have not been transparent. We have been as transparent as the law would allow us to be. And at this point, this is not an article that I would vote to recommend. John, do you have anything further to say?
No, I mean, I like I said, I mean, okay, so the article is going to be there no matter what.
Mhm.
So I think that we probably should be writing something with regards to what the board's, the board's reasons for its vote. I mean, if you're asking me, if this is asking me, do I agree that this is the proper way to spend $20,000 of the town's money? Then my answer is clearly no. If you're asking me, are we hiding something? We're not hiding anything. I'm still trying to figure out why FinCom thinks it's a good idea to spend this money, but that's their decision.
Right.
Well, I think that if this goes forward, it won't produce the value people are hoping for, I think, unless there's some kind of an agreement at the beginning with the proponents and this board as to what is the framework of what's going to be produced. How far is it going to go in any given direction? Because we could spend a lot of time and up to $20,000 spinning our wheels to cover ground that's already been covered. So
Right.
I think that if we go ahead and do this, there ought to be a frank discussion up front with the proponents about what is it they expect and what can be reasonably delivered under the time frame and the constraints that we operate under.
Right, and I do agree with Wes's point that this is simply going to take an awful lot of town employee time, and that needs to be factored into the $20,000. So I agree with, and unless I agree with you as well, there's no parameters, there's no framework, there's no understanding what's going to be accomplished by this.
So,
I mean, it seems like a proxy article from the FinCom, but that's just my interpretation.
seems like a what? I'm sorry?
A proxy article from the FinCom, but that's
Proxy
just my interpretation.
Proxy for what?
For them submitting this warrant article.
There's one thing that I want to point out, and it is the third bullet from the bottom. If anyone thinks that it cost anything to have the interim chief of police certified in Massachusetts, it did not. he came with all the experience and knowledge and expertise, and he just had to go through the post certification, the examinations, and the interviews, and the training he had to do were all at zero expense. That was the first question I asked, and confirmed at the end of it, once he was completely Massachusetts post certified, that there was no expense to the town on that.
Well, I would also point out that information regarding the interim town administrative salaries and also any expenses for the interim chiefs are laid out clearly in the salary lines of the interim town administrator and all expenses, and clearly in the contracts of the interim chiefs. So those things, the contracts for the interim chiefs of police are public information. The salaries and expenses and overtime also public records requests. I mean, to take $20,000 to do some sort of forensic audit implies that there are some hidden expenses. There's nothing hidden here where it's quite open. So I definitely would vote against this. Maria, you have your hand up.
I actually just want to clarify something. I'm actually pretty angry with your statement, Wes. This has nothing to do with the FinCom. This was presented to the select board by a citizen. This had nothing to do with us.
You're right.
We voted
and you have members
on
of
it.
the FinCom getting
We
signatures
voted
for
on
this.
it.
You have members of the
What
FinCom getting signatures for
what they
this, so that would
do on their
imply.
own time is on their own time. This is not a proxy warrant for the FinCom. We voted on it. We discussed it. There was some of us who I had a concern with voting on this, but if you watch our meeting, you can hear the discussion. But what people do on their own time is their own time. They did not collect signatures as FinCom members. It's insulting and it's unnecessary. Comments like that are unnecessary and it makes things difficult. We have tried really hard this year to work with the select board, to work together with the select board to be respectful, and comments like that are insulting. If you want to have a discussion as to why we voted on it, I'm happy to do that. But to indicate that it was a proxy warrant article for the FinCom is just unnecessary and causes anger, and anger is something we need to get away from. So, as far as why we voted on it, I struggled with this because I wasn't sure if it was good money after bad, but there was a lot of discussion about the fact that this is a citizen's petition. It's on there. If the citizens of the town choose to go forward with it, it needed a funding mechanism. I certainly would not have voted for a raise and appropriate. It's free cash. I struggled with it. I did vote for it, but at the end of the day, because I was convinced, as people were saying, this is what people want. People put it on there. 300 signatures got this on the warrant. And so let town meeting vote one way or the other on it. But this was not done we did not vote for this. We did not put this forward. This was just, we voted for this. We did not put this forward. So I would appreciate, we don't have comments like that just are not based in fact.
Okay. Thank you, Maria.
Thank you, Diana.
Okay. Any further discussion? So let's take a vote.
The only other comment I want to make here is I know that a lot of this seems to be related to the select board deciding to go with a private investigator. I just want to tell you that over the course of the summer, at various times when I was at the transfer station or other places in town, a number of different individuals came to me and they said, "What's going on with the FBI investigation?" And I said, "I can't speak to it. I'm not allowed. It's an active investigation." And a number of those citizens said to me, "Why doesn't the town just hire a private investigator, get the information they need, and get this done?" Okay. And I think at the end of the day, that's what we did. So there are citizens that wanted us to do what we did. And I'm proud of what we did. And, but I'm not, I know there is no way that I would want to spend $20,000 from free cash for a lot of information that's available or information that can't be made available until after all the investigations are complete.
I agree. Maria, could you put your hand down so I'll know if you want to speak again later? Maria? Thank you. Okay, any further discussion? So, John, a vote aye is to recommend, a vote nay is not to recommend.
Nay.
Les,
Now, this is a vote as to whether we approve the spending of the money, I view. Not so much as to what we think of the article.
Right.
I observe that there are a lot of people who want more information about what's been going on. And that's been pretty clear. And I think that spending a relatively small amount of money to address that, in addition to what's already been spent through the legal budget for a private investigator to flesh out some of these things, that information ought to be made as transparent and as available as possible. So in that spirit, I would support spending a tiny bit more money to achieve that end. But I go back to what I said at the beginning, that it won't do any good if there isn't some kind of a agreement among the parties involved as to what the framework for the results are going to be. What can be said,
Right.
when. People might be surprised to find that there are going to be some things that we can't do still.
so what is your vote, Les?
So my vote is I will spend the money, but with the proviso that the select board will attempt to engage the parties concerned and come up with a framework for doing some kind of a report out.
Okay, so your vote is aye.
Pardon?
Your vote is aye.
It's, a conditional I guess. Yeah.
Okay,
So you're going to have to write the I recommendation.
right. Wes?
So I mean, the purpose of this is to recommend, and whether the select board and the FinCom, or the FinCom makes their recommendation of, is this spending money a good use of taxpayer money, whether it's raised and appropriate or previously raised and appropriated. And my response would be nay, no, I don't support that. And it's interesting to me, again, I guess echoing John's comments of the purview of saying, hey, let's spend money and more money, just because it's not necessarily, this vote is not necessarily based on what the taxpayers want, it's what's best for the town. And in that position, I would say nay.
Okay, my vote also is nay. So the majority report is nay. We'll figure out who wants to write the majority report, just so we know that now. I'm very willing to, if you would like me to, unless you need to write the minority report.
Yeah.
Okay?
Madam
Okay,
Chair,
Yes.
you probably noticed it's a little past 7. I don't know, do you want to take community concern?
yes, I was
We'll move to the
thinking
next
about
article.
doing that. How much more do, we only have this one, right?
We have a sense of the meeting.
Is this the last article? No, we have some more. Okay, then let's stop at the sense of the meeting for the moment, and we'll go on and see if there are any community concerns. Do I see any hands raised? I don't at this point. Community concerns? Okay, so seeing no hands raised, I will move on to the sense of the meeting. We'll continue with voting on the warrant. So the sense of the meeting, public safety building options, sense of the meeting. So I move that the board recommend to adopt the sense of the meeting regarding the public safety building options. Vote 1 for vote 1 first, and then I guess we have to take these separately.
I don't know if we want to opine on this, since a lot of this is from us, and rather than just give the summary and let other people, or if we have to. I don't know if we're obligated to, right?
Okay, well, so one of the things that I will have to say is that the costs that are put in there are not correct. And I will tell you honestly, I have some concern about this because I don't really think that the options can be fully laid out to the town, because even the building committee does not fully have those things nailed down, even cost. It's hard to give people an option. So do you want to spend $50 here or $5? Well, people are generally going to pick the $5. So is that really a fair analysis unless there's more information? Well, what does $50 buy you? What does $5 buy you? And I'm not sure that the building committee is prepared yet to offer those options in detail. I know that we have talked about it, about providing some sort of presentation, but at this point, I'm not sure we'll be prepared to do it in time for the May meeting. Les, do you want to jump in there?
Oh, I agree with you, Diana. I think that this sense of the meeting could be better served at a later date. After the work that's currently underway to investigate or actually review the work that's been done in the past from the building committee and bring forward a recommendation at a later date at perhaps a fall town meeting with a report out at this May town meeting about where we stand. There have been a lot of things recently come to light that are in flux. And I don't think that the building committee is ready to put a stake in the ground right now to give people something very firm to base their opinion on. I think that we would be able to do that after the summer. I think a lot more will be known. There are some things that Mike is going to be running to ground and the building committee is still working on, as Diana pointed out. So I think that the town meeting would be better served to have given them a better, more crisp set of choices at a later date. And also doing it at this time would I think strike many of the building committee members as undermining their work. And so why would you ask town meeting to come in at this hour of the day and sort of preempt the committee's obligation to bring town meeting a recommendation?
John?
Yeah, I'd agree with Les. I think it's premature, and I think the last thing we need to do is to bring something premature about the safety building to the public again. I think, anytime we mention numbers that we're not sure of, it just continues to raise questions and it undermines all the good work that's been done. And I know, Les, that they're looking at to see, they're now looking to get funding for a study to see, is there anything we could do with the current police building? Actually have someone actually look at it as opposed to just an opinion.
Yes, that's correct. The committee is discussing that.
I don't see what purpose, I don't see what purpose this really serves right now. I don't see any benefit.
Mike, did you want to say something about this?
Yes. This article probably came about as I was asking many questions along the way, because we've had multiple public safety building options coming forward. And I'm late to the game on this, only being here 4 months, but I was trying to figure out what is the process that we, decide how to get there. And, I was late to getting to the Boxborough Building Committee meetings, but I also had a developer approach me. So, if there's any blame, if this isn't the right way, this sense of the meeting at this time, I think that that falls on me, because I was asking a lot of questions, just trying to figure out where have we been, where are we going, and how do we get there. So anyways, if that helps at all.
Yeah, no, Mike, I don't think we're looking at any blame anywhere. I think we're looking at the proper timing. I mean, if this was simply a sense of the meeting, does the public believe that we need a public safety building? That might be one thing, but I think trying to put specifics like this in there just raises a lot of questions. And as more questions are raised at town meeting, people will say, well, they really don't have their act together. And I don't think that helps. That the building committee's been working very long and hard, and Les in particular has been working on this quite a long time.
Wes?
Yeah, so I mean, at the end of the day, right, if we do this too simply, then you get something that's not good. And so, I mean, like, I threw this together, but it's like, we have the main question of, do you want a public safety building that does police and fire, or do you want just a fire public safety building? In general, which would the town support? One is going to be more expensive than the other in the short term. One's going to be more expensive in the long term. We don't know what kind of land. And so with all these uncertainties, having at least some direction of an indication of which way the voters might go may be beneficial. Otherwise, you're going to start spending money to do more evaluations and more of this stuff. And so at the end of the day, my thinking is if we either just ask it simply, do you want a public safety building or do you want just a fire building? Or just a police station? I don't really care how we phrase it, but picking some sort of general direction. Otherwise, we keep kind of spinning our wheels. And as more things come up, as things change, and things will change over time, we'll have, we potentially could have more property become available. We could have less property become available. We could find gold underneath the fire station tomorrow. I don't really know, but at a certain point, we just need to like pick something and start moving in a direction, or at least get some sort of sense of the meeting. And that's why I initially proposed this. But I know that some people are going to want lots of details. Some people are going to want high level input, but it's not, if we just do something saying, do you support a fire station only? Do you support a public safety building only? Then people are going to say, well, what do you mean by this? What are the sizes? What's going into this? And then we just say, does it really matter? One is going to be more expensive than the other. Like, which one do you want? Do you want a shiny building for both people, or do you not? Or both sides, or not? And at the end of the day, you kind of have to have some sort of inclination before you start moving in a direction.
Yeah, well, but we already know the answer. It really doesn't matter. Do you want to pay me now or do you want to pay me later? It's very clear from any analysis I've seen, that I've done, that Context has done, that HKT has done, that the combined building will be less money overall cost to the town, including bonding and the escalation of construction costs. The kicker is that it's a bigger outlay initially, and that may give people sticker shock. So it's a way to try to sugarcoat, which is a bitter pill, that it's a lot of money. Is there a way to sell the idea by breaking it into two smaller chunks that will, in the end, cost you more over time, but may go down easier? That's really what it's all about.
Well, I can't say I totally agree with you, Les, as you know. First of all, just to give you a context here, back in 2015, HKT did a 34,000 square foot building, public safety building, at a cost of over $25 million. They were factoring in, and when you add in demolition costs and so on, a square footage cost of $400 per square foot. So just taking the square footage and multiplying it by the cost per square foot is not the whole answer. If we were to extrapolate today, the current study that was just done by Context comes in a little bit less, under 33,000, about 32, I forgot the exact number, but the price per square foot is somewhere between $800 and $900 per square foot. We're talking about a public safety building that would be somewhere between $40 and $60 million, just doing the math and doubling the numbers, right? So the question is not just simply, can we save money in a combined public safety building? It is also, do we actually need to do something significant with the police station, which is why we're looking at the police station. Do we need a fire station? Yes, I think most people say yes. Do we need something more significant for a police station? That is a question. So where I disagree with Les is pay now or pay later. You might be able to satisfy both with just a fire station and an upgrade to the current police station. Because I can tell you over time, the number of employees that are projected, I think the number we saw was 4, 3 for the police department and 1 or 4 or 5. I can't remember.
3 in each.
3 in each. Okay. So 6. So we're talking over the next 30 years, an additional 3 police officers, maybe. So the question becomes, how much do we need to do to the police department? That is my big question. And so that's why this article right now doesn't give you all of the context for really what we're trying to decide. In my opinion, I would prefer to see a presentation, a little more in-depth presentation by the building committee offering the alternatives with an estimate, a rough estimate. If we don't do this, how much more would it cost us if down the line we want to add a police station, a new police department or station onto this or whatever? we need to present clear alternatives. I have done some previous work for the building committee and created a spreadsheet about what other towns have. And I can tell you as an example, the Westford fire station that just was built in about 2 years ago. That building, in my research, showed that they went to 3 annual town meetings to finally get approval, which meant that in those town meetings, the citizens were presented with plans and plans and plans and plans and costs. It may take us that kind of an investment. So just trying to put it out there right now and say, yes, the sense of the meeting is, do we want a public safety building or do we just want a fire station? That's not enough information for the town. So
I agree with that. I mean,
what I would recommend
it's a much more nuanced discussion than just a simple binary answer
so that
right now.
at least if the building committee has an opportunity, I would recommend tabling this to the fall town meeting, where we would bring in a real presentation from the building committee, including real numbers, that not absolute drop dead numbers, but close estimates as to what the actual cost would be and what things would be looking at, so that the town would have real information to declare a general preference. And that would be my feeling about it.
Well, I agree with you, and that's what I intend to do. That's what I was trying to say at the outset here. And that's the nuanced decision that people need to weigh in on. We need to give them those kinds of real data about what the choices are.
Right.
And I think that we can probably say something at a May report out if we want to, and if the moderator agrees to it. But I think the real goal is to have something ready for a fall town meeting. And in the meantime, as you know, the building committee has written a little article for the Bee saying we're going to be communicating about all this out there and shopping the idea around. There's going to be a flyer at the 5K run coming up in early April. So people will start hearing more about what we've been up to and where we're headed. So I'm hoping that we'll get good, solid community engagement and be able to, so the community can guide itself and us as to where they really want to end up. There's no avoiding cost.
Well, it's always the devil's are in the details, unfortunately. And, if you were to ask someone right now off the top of their head, I have a pretty good idea how people would respond. People don't want to spend money if they don't have to. And it goes back to some things that some of our members have said on the committee. You have to tell people what your reason is for doing whatever you do. You have to demonstrate a need. If you can't demonstrate a clear need, then you can't ask people to support it either in principle or financially. And so far, we haven't gotten to that place. No one would like an answer better than me. I would love the town to say yay or nay to these issues, but I just don't think this article would give the town enough information. So I would personally
turn it slightly differently. I don't think we need this sense of the meeting article to give us the direction we need to keep moving in right now that the committee is already working on to get us to some presentation and the time for May and action at the fall town meeting.
So I want to make the motion to pull this article for this and revisit this in the fall town meeting. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? So let's take a vote. John?
Markowitz, aye.
Les?
Aye. Fox, aye.
Wes?
Aye.
And Lepari, aye. So let's remove this article from the warrant. And we'll revisit it in the fall town meeting. Definitely keep it on the books.
Okay, so this is a road acceptance of 3 roads in Boxborough Meadows, Joyce Lane, Loving Avenue, and McLeod Way. This was originally brought by the Homeowners Association, but it's taken on as a town article. And I don't know if Alec is here.
He is.
So if you have any questions on this article, Alec is here at your disposal to give you more details and an update on this if you like.
So, Alec, I have a quick question. Do we have to take a vote to bring this article to say that we're going to be able to discuss it? Or did we do that?
A previous meeting, the board did vote to place this on the warrant, so it should already be on there. It's what the question now is, whether you recommend the actual acceptance itself.
Okay. Can I ask you questions right now, or do I?
Let's just make a motion first, and then, so we get that out of the way. I move that the board recommend the article regarding the acceptance of Joyce Lane, Loring Avenue, and McLeod Way as public ways. Do I have a second? Okay, now let's go to discussion.
Okay, so Alec, typically, I think for a roadway on that's done under 40B, the developer has to come forward and make a request for us to accept the road, and that's not happened, or?
The developer made that request in 2005 when they filed the first application.
Okay. And did they have to do anything were there certain conditions that they had to meet?
Yes, the planning board at the time was not satisfied that the applicant had completed all the requirements. There were some minute details like guardrails in certain locations, and then more intensive details such as wetlands replication that still needed to be done. The Homeowners Association has undertaken some of those, if not all of them, over the past several years, and they have come forward again in 2023, having now completed that initial list.
Yeah, no, I was in the meeting when they were presenting their concerns, and yeah, they've done a tremendous job trying to keep the roadway in acceptable condition as much as they could. And I think it's unfortunate that, as taxpayers, they're not getting this, the road's not been accepted. I know there are challenges with being able to plow that road. Is there a mechanism to be able to deal with that?
Yes, so the police chief, or the interim police chief, has laid out a strategy for enforcement that does involve ticketing, followed by and including towing in emergency situations. What's unique about this circumstance is that with the width of the roadway, just about any situation could be considered an emergency situation. You don't know when it's going to occur. So when someone has an emergency, you can't wait for the towing company to come get it. So the strategy would be roughly round the clock enforcement until such time as the neighborhood, kind of learns over time to not use the spaces. There's not a great solution when the neighborhood has gotten used to using these spaces, but at the time of acceptance, all of that would go back, and they would have to make it a habit of not parking within the right of way, including sidewalks.
Okay. And the homeowners association has been made aware of these conditions?
On numerous occasions, we have expressed this to the homeowners association. It was expressed during the finance committee meeting that they would like to see something more formal, maybe in writing. And I suggested that a memorandum of understanding would be the best avenue that the homeowners association could sign, recognizing and understanding the enforcement measures that may be implemented at the sole discretion of the police department.
Okay, so you've already taken an initiative to do that, Alec?
I have not drafted it yet, but it's a pretty simple scope for an MOU. It's just understanding the conditions of what would occur in the form of enforcement and giving the sole discretion to them. It's really a formality because it takes over in the form of general law once we accept it regardless.
Yeah, I think it's good to give them a heads up because, be careful what you ask for. So this is one of the consequences, and they should go into this eyes wide open. But Alec has dug up a lot of the gory details of the sad history of this situation. Unfortunately, the residents of Boxborough Meadows are kind of victims of process that did not really go as it should have, in my opinion, for reasons that I don't fully understand. We released the bond on the road prior to all the work that was expected was actually done. And so time has gone on, and here we are. I personally don't want to penalize the residents who are innocent bystanders, basically, and victims of process more than anything else, and try to address the situation as best we can. This was the town's first 40B comp permit. Alec finally dug out the comp permit. I forget how many applications for exceptions to the zoning are there. It's a list this long. It's 40 things, I guess. That's why they call it 40B. I don't know. A lot of things that are exceptions. Everything is, varied. The roads are narrower than they should be. Everything. So it's caused a lot of the headaches that we now know about. But on the bright side, it's a healthy community. There's never any trouble selling a unit there when it comes on the market. And it seems to be a very solid community. And so I think the town should shoulder some of the burden, even if it means accepting roads in less than optimal condition, and learn from this and move on.
Yeah, I agree with you, Les. Yep.
So my question is, has the planning board, the planning board's votes are not in the warrant as presented to us in the draft. Is there a reason the planning board has not voted on this yet?
My apologies. I thought I had forwarded that along. I thought I had forwarded that along. The planning board has voted to defer their recommendation, specifically because they have a list of things that they would like me to assemble first. Everything from a formal right-of-way plan, which we've now received, to conduct cammering and scoping of the subsurface infrastructure. So those would be the drain lines themselves, not just the not just the catch basins. Oh, here we go.
Right. Okay.
Yep. And then to resolve some questions. So, for example, there's $3,000 in back taxes on the road, and the road is still owned by the developer itself. So, will the developer be paying those, or would we be accepting those and effectively writing those away? I can pull the rest out if you're interested, but the summation of it is the planning board does have some items they would like me to do more research on and come to future meetings. As I said, one of the key items is an actual easement plan. So this upcoming month, I plan to present the easement plan first to the planning board. If they agree with those ways, they will lay them out. And then you as the select board will accept those ways, or well, you will accept the ways as presented, and they will be filed with the town clerk at least 7 days prior to town meeting.
And that would all be at a future town meeting. Is that right, Alec?
Correct. We're still a couple meetings away from being able to be 100% on point, ready to go to town meeting.
Right. Now, given the email exchange I had with you earlier, am I correct in that I think it was condition number 11 and the comp permit seems to give the town some advantages in terms of acquiring either an easement or a fee interest and being able to lay out a road. Is that correct? Is that your view of it? Or maybe you don't want to put an opinion out there just right now. I know.
Could you repeat the question? I'm not sure I actually understood it.
Well, I was looking at the condition 11 that still stands in the comp permit, which was accepted, does give the town, I think, rights to acquire either a fee interest or an easement to lay out the road, which is a step yet ahead of us. We don't own that land.
Correct. So that was the condition of the actual permit itself.
Right.
Legal counsel has informed us of what they feel would be the most appropriate method, which would be a complete taking of the property and all rights within it, not just a fee simple.
Okay.
And that the cleanest way to do that would be via what's referred to as a friendly taking, or more formally as eminent domain, but with the agreement of the property owner that we would be taking by eminent domain.
Okay. Now, when you say complete taking, does that mean the lots as well as room to put the road layout in, or?
No, we would not be taking ownership of any of the lots. We would be taking ownership of the right of way and all of the easements affiliated or associated with that right of way.
So all that has to be laid out first before that can even be done, right?
Yes, we do have an easement plan that was developed, it appears, by the applicant at an earlier date. So we anticipate that being the most accurate document, but that'll
Okay.
be researched and put before the planning board prior to coming before the select board.
Okay, great.
So Alec, it concerns me that the developer hasn't offered the road to the town. It makes no sense to me. They have back taxes that are due. Why would they not have offered it to the town? Do you have any concept, any idea about why that's happening?
Approximately 2 weeks ago, I was meeting with the developer casually on something entirely separate from this. And I did raise the question to the developer just to get a sense of their awareness of the application. They expressed to me that they were not aware of the application and that they were not even aware that the road had not transferred ownership either to the town or to the HOA. But as it's very clear from our tax maps, or our assessor's map, the HOA does not own the road. The developer's entity still owns the road. That is a follow-up conversation that I do expect to have with the developer. I left it with the developer that I would like to schedule a future meeting. Time has not allowed me to do that as yet, but at the very least, I need pen to paper that they are on board with this in some way, shape, or form. And then, of course, the fees associated as well.
Yeah.
So my general feeling about this is I would prefer to defer my recommendation to town meeting because I think there are a lot of questions still. And I would hope that it would go in the direction of the acceptance, but I just would like to see all the I's dotted and the T's crossed before making the recommendation. I feel a little bit uneasy, like the planning board, without having some of these questions fully settled to make a recommendation. So that's my general feeling about this. Does anybody else have anything more to say on this?
I think the release of the bond from the 40B was actually done by the Zoning Board of Appeals. So I'm not really sure how much the planning board has to say with a development that was done under 40B. I mean, Alec, you may have a better idea.
John, I think you may be
You and
right
I.
because the comp permit was a creature of the zoning board of appeals. That's how it was set up. And I think they were the ones who signed off on
That's
it.
right.
Yep. So,
That's right.
whoever issues the permit, whether it be the planning board, the zoning board of appeals, or the conservation commission, when they order certain orders of conditions in some cases, I'm sure, whoever is the issuer of the permit holds the performance bond. In this case, that was the zoning board of appeals. It was the zoning board of appeals who released it. The planning board's role in this is to approve the roadways as laid out for them to go before you, the select board.
All right.
My concern is not whether the planning board approves it or not. It's just there are certain questions. The biggest question for me is about the back taxes and the developer and eminent domain, because those things are kind of squirrely and those could, require some input financially by the town. If you have to take a property by eminent domain, it's not, without expense. So I would just like to see some of these questions answered and be put in, clear order before I would recommend this article. The spirit of it, I definitely believe in. I believe that these residents deserve to have a road that works for them. And I don't have a problem with the town accepting it. I would just like to see everything in an orderly fashion before I would recommend to the town that it take on something where the costs are somewhat still unclear. That would be my feeling. So we can vote on it now, and we can defer our recommendation until town meeting.
Well, I think, Diana, what I would like to do is I'd like to let the citizens and the homeowners association know where we stand. And if we find that at town meeting that there's, the fact that we don't own the road, that's going to take some legal work, Alec, right? In terms of us owning the road. And so there's two issues. In terms of the taxes, that's a tax issue for the town to deal with. And then in terms of road ownership, okay? So if the developer owns the road, then that has to be worked out with the developer in terms of what is it going to cost the town to take on ownership. And is that part of the numbers that have been put in here, or is that just the estimate for the care and maintenance of the roadway, the 175?
The 175,000 is exclusively for the surface work.
Okay.
It does not factor in any of the fees associated with taking ownership. So for the general public who might not be aware of what John's alluding to, when you take property by eminent domain, there's an inherent responsibility by the town to compensate back the property owner for the land that's being taken. Now, when you do a friendly taking, and even when you do a non-friendly taking, but more common when you do a friendly taking, as I mentioned, and you get them to agree in advance, oftentimes what you can do is when the appraiser goes out to actually appraise the value of the land or the space that you're taking, the property owner can choose to refuse the appraisal, and by doing so, waive their right to fair compensation. It's reasonable to do that in advance. Sometimes you can get those things kind of written and worked out ahead of time, but you don't know for certain that actually happens until such time as you file the letter, send it by certified mail, and say, we would like to send out a person onto your property to appraise the value of the land. And at that time, they must formally refuse. So one of the goals of my meeting with the developer in the near to immediate future is to start getting answers on that in advance.
Alec, just to be clear, the taking of any lands that are subject of this conversation would be land that underlies the paved road service right now and maybe some drainage structures, not yard fronts of the homes there. Is that correct? Or is there something that's not tidy there?
So the not so tidy part of that is that there are certain utility structures, so electrical boxes and such, that we would also be taking ownership with. So picture wherever you see those little mulch spaces off to the side of the road, we're taking those as well. And then there are easements that we will be taking for the subsurface below someone's land, the right to go onto that land and make any repairs where there are drainage lines, little tubes that of probably metal that go below the ground to the detention basins where the storm drains then drop out to. But no, people's realistic front yards we're not taking, but right up to it.
That's what I thought. So the land that's would be taken here is then the land that is still owned by the original developer, for which they owe $3,000 in back taxes.
Correct.
And if they don't pay, we would just put a lien on that land that we're going to then take. So we're caught between a rock and a hard place. I think there's no way except forward and let the legal stuff sort itself out.
Okay, so the motion was made, and are we ready to take a vote on this?
I am.
Yep.
Okay, John?
Just a point of clarification. You had discussed deferring this, and so are you looking to withdraw your original motion and then make a new one to pass over?
I didn't change the motion,
Okay.
unless somebody would like to make an amendment to that.
What was your motion then? Maybe you should restate it.
Motion was to recommend the acceptance of this article. By the way, before we do this, let me just ask, Alec, do you think you would have the answers to some of these questions in 2 weeks?
In 2 weeks, some of the questions, yes. All of the questions, certainly not.
Specifically regarding the ownership, because for me, that's the biggest piece. I mean, frankly, I don't understand why the developer would not just offer it to the town, why we would have to take it, because honestly, they owe money on it. They're not making money on it unless they think they can somehow make money on it. And I would find that hard to believe. It's a roadway, can't have much value, but So my question is, do you think you would have that piece sorted out in 2 weeks?
Admittedly, I don't have a good sense of it, but if that's the will of the select board, then I will expedite that part of the process and back end everything else. And I'll just try to get that meeting scheduled this week so I can write up a report next week.
I'm just
But I-
wondering if maybe just deferring this to our next meeting, along with the other article that we wanted to defer, might be a way to go initially, rather than, because at this point, I will tell you my inclination is to vote nay on this because I feel like I don't have enough information to recommend it. I am sympathetic with the concepts. I just would like to have more specific answers in terms of cost. So I don't feel everything is, there are legal things that need to be worked out, and there are always legal things, but there are so many questions right now about the general deal, the overall basic deal, that to me I don't feel that I could recommend it at this moment. So I don't know, perhaps we might want to just defer to the next meeting or take a vote. It's up to you guys. Give me a verbal about what you think.
Yeah, no, Diana, I'd be happy to defer. My guess is that what happened is the developer asked the town to accept the road. Nothing happened, and there was no follow-up. And it's just been sitting there for 18 years with that request still hanging.
So the question is, do you want to vote on this now, or do you want to just wait in 2 weeks?
No, I said prior to that I'd be willing to defer it until our next meeting.
Les, what do you think?
I don't think there's any harm to us to deferring it, but I want to send a strong positive message to the homeowners that we support this and we're going to sort out the legal issue. So if Diana would be more comfortable letting another week of investigation happen, that's fine with me.
Right.
I frankly don't think we're going to turn up anything that would, be very revealing, but let's give it a shot.
Right,
Well,
and
I
I
think-
agree with you, Les. The homeowners should know that we solidly behind this.
And so am I. I mean, I
Yeah, right.
Right. I just would like to have it be more developed. So that's 2 weeks for our next regular meeting. So let's give it a 2-week shot and see if we're any farther along.
Is that okay for the warrant?
Yes, I believe so. We have another one that we're dealing with in 2 weeks. And then that same meeting, we will organize the warrant. Are we okay with that, Mike?
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay. So-
While we're on this, I sent a note to Kelly. If Kelly's on, maybe she could catch it now. It's Loring Avenue, Loring.
Yes, she already caught that.
Oh, it's not here. Okay.
Okay, so then I withdraw the motion. And let's just go at it again in 2 weeks and see where we are. Alec, if you could do your best to at least answer the question about ownership, that would be helpful.
Yeah, absolutely, Madam Chairperson. I'll put that in front of the list. And admittedly, I've already gotten some answers to the initial questions the planning board had, so you'll get more than just one update.
Great. Thank you so much for all your work on this. It's not
Absolutely.
easy, very complicated.
Happy to do so. Have a great rest of your evening, everybody.
Thank you.
Sure, Alex.
So I think we're done now, Mike, right? We
I
don't
think
vote
we
on-
got the next two were planning board articles. So that's it.
Okay. So we're done on the warrant for tonight.
Yes.
So we're moving on to the select board and town administrator goals. Mike?
So there's one goal that that didn't make it onto the what you have on your screen there, and it involved public safety building. So language that was suggested may include something like that was in the 2030 plan, and that is so for bullet point 13, address need for new police and fire department facilities per the Boxborough 2030 plan.
So what would you like us to do with these goals? Put them in order? First year? What would you?
I guess I just want to make sure these are the goals that you that the entire board buys into, and then yeah, if you want to give some prioritization, at least either number them or, which are your highest priority, like what are your priority one goals? And then we can move forward with an implementation plan.
I think this list is now consistent with, I'll call Mike's list of his own personal goals that he's working on to respond to what we want to do. So I think it's consistent now.
Yep.
The other thing on the clarification, the number one ARPA spending plan, is this meant to be execute the spending plan or make it more transparent, just exactly what the spending plan is and what our progress is on it? Some way for people to go and check our website or something to get an update on where we are.
Yeah,
Or both.
It is both. It is both to execute the spending plan and make it visible. And it actually is. It's on the accounting website.
It is. Oh,
Yeah, and if anyone was to go there and look at the budget versus actual for the latest month, so the latest one that's up there is February, and you go to, it's a 27-page, every month the accountant puts up something up there, and on page 21 and 22 of February's budget versus actual, it shows where we are on the ARPA spending plan. And I can give you a quick highlight at the end of this meeting, on where we are. But to answer your question though, it's both. It's both to implement the plan and highlight where we are on the accountant's plan. Now, if you wanted something broken out just with ARPA, we could do that. But I know that this, it can be found, as I mentioned, in the budget versus actual for February.
I think, Mike, one of the things we might want to add to that is we can look at we're trying to execute the plan in terms of how the funds were allocated almost a year ago. And I think we might want to also include in that a review of, are those funds going to be spent by the groups that they've been allocated to, or do we need to look and make some revisions?
Yeah, I would actually agree with that as well, that I think there probably are going to need to be some revisions, sending some of the money that's was still a little bit early in it, but some of the money that we don't think will be entirely spent or spent on time, reallocated either to other buckets or to other purposes.
Because one of the things that's interesting that was not on the table when the ARPA funds were being allocated was the availability of the water project with Littleton. That seemed like something that was going to be much further down the road. And there's a possibility, if we decide that for the water project with Littleton, that we want to add some fire hydrants along Swanson and or Codman Hill, that the ARPA funds could actually be used for that.
well, actually, hydrant is part of the Littleton plan.
Okay, so if it's, but what I'm thinking, Les, is that if the hydrants are there to benefit the town,
Yeah,
and that the cost of that should not be part of the betterment fee for each of the condos, that it could be borne by the ARPA funds. Just a thought.
we could talk about some way to do that. Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
relief for betterment charges.
Right, exactly.
Although I'm not sure exactly in the financing for this whether hydrants per se are charged as betterments to specific properties. I think that might be peanut buttered across the whole project. I'm not sure. I mean, just
Okay.
like the water that's delivered to hydrants is not
Right.
metered, it's not taxed.
No, I mean, it's something to look at down the road.
Right. But I want to ask Mike a question. So, Mike, I'm looking on Kelly's page, and I'm not sure how to best get a hold of what tells me about what's happening with ARPA. Is that you're talking about looking at the latest ledger history summary or something else?
Yes, look at the summary that says budget versus actual for February. Go to the summary page and get out to page 21.
Okay. Well, I'll look at it later then. But I think you just helped me make my point, which is needs to be more simple and easier to find than that. Maybe a page of its own that kind of grabs the main things and just puts it right there for people to find.
We'll make that part of the goal. We'll do that.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
I agree with you, Les. Having that spreadsheet out that we initially accepted, showing the allocation of funds, I think would be good just to put it up there.
Yeah.
So it quite plainly. So regarding these goals, I'm not sure that we necessarily have to order them because quite honestly, we all know what the order is. We have the ARPA spending plan and the water project, which are the two top ones in terms of time sensitive. And everything else is kind of like everything else has to be there all the time. So, Wes, did you have something you wanted to say?
Yeah, I was just going to say you may want to change it to bullet points rather than numbers, so that way you don't give the impression of
Good idea.
ordering. Because additionally, these also, I don't know any of these that are a 1-year thing, but more of like a moving goalpost to saying, are we moving in the right direction? And that kind of goes to like the evaluation of Mike and saying, you know, is Mike supporting the board in moving in the right direction, and is he helping or hurting? And so that's kind of what this is. And like, I don't expect him to be hurting the town or moving the town backwards, but just especially if we have potentially 3 new members coming on, just to kind of make sure that we are as explicit as possible with the intentions of the board as we're developing these things.
Well, I think I think you're very right about that. I see these as sort of big pot, sections that we need to take care of. And as chair, I at this moment, I can see specific things to go to this list and say, well, can we do this in this pocket? Can we do this in this pocket? And try to take things up one at a time with these overarching goals in mind. So I think that would work. If you add the public safety building or public safety facilities, I would say would be a better way to go about it.
Yeah, it should say facilities.
Right. Then what I would say is I move to authorize, I move to accept the select board and town administrator goals as presented.
Or as amended.
Amended.
Yes.
With
Second.
amended. Okay. Okay. Any further discussion?
And put the bullets in.
And add number 13. Maybe we need to do 14 if you're suspicious. I don't know. Suspicious. Anyway, John.
Markowitz, aye.
Les.
Fox eye.
Wes.
Folks, aye.
And Lepari, aye. Thank you, Mike, for culling this long list down to the essence.
Welcome. Thank you for your work on this.
Okay, so the next thing is the final item actually on our list before reports is the response to the open meeting law complaint. And I move to authorize the select board chair to respond to the open meeting law complaint filed on February 27th, 2023 as presented. Do I have a second?
Second.
Do we have any discussion? Did you all get a chance to read this?
Yep.
Yep.
And this goes to where?
This is going to be responding to Mark White's open meeting law complaint.
And who gets this communication?
So this will go to Mark White as well as to the AG's office and the
Okay.
town clerk.
Okay.
Okay, John,
Markowitz, aye.
Les,
Fox eye.
Wes,
Folks, aye.
and Lepari, aye. All right, now town administrator reports and select board reports. First, Mike.
Okay, so a couple of things to report. Well, the first one, let me just give you a quick update on ARPA. That was one of the things that I wanted to update you on. So active projects going on right now within ARPA are HVAC was one of the buckets. And we have the town hall and police department are getting all the ductwork cleaned. So we've just decided on a contractor, and we're working on scheduling both of those buildings to be taken care of. Alec and the EDC have a plan they've approved to do the business grant program out of ARPA funding. The senior transportation bucket of ARPA funding is being used currently. Also, there has been actually most of the PPE, almost all of the PPE money from ARPA has been used. The Acton food pantry, some of that money is being used. The rental assistance is being well utilized. Another bucket is the BEAP program, or Boxborough Emergency Assistance Program. That's being tapped into. And then next week, we are meeting with Cable Access and with Kirby to look at two things. One is the upgrades to the Grange, including acoustics on the ceiling and walls, as well as electrical work in the two floor boxes that needs to be done. We've had a carpenter in today doing some mounting some of the cabinetry on the walls in the Grange room. And then we're looking at purchasing owl cameras as well as extension microphones for the Grange room. And in meeting with Kirby, we're going to be looking at some of the equipment that needs to be updated to keep up with modern technology for broadcasting these meetings. So that's a quick update on ARPA. And then I also wanted to give you a brief update on the water intermunicipal agreement with Littleton. So I have had several meetings and discussions with Littleton Electric Light and Water Department, as well as the town administrator in Littleton. We're working on the IMA. It's in its very first draft. On Saturday, I sent that draft IMA with no numbers attached to it yet to our town council and Attorney Eichmann to review, and then I'll be providing feedback. That's in its very draft form. Our goal is to get something to you within a month. I'm hoping to have something you can look at by your March 27th meeting. I have received input, and I was listening when the board discussed last time we talked about the IMA, bringing updates and also having some either an advisory panel or some advisors that will give input. I have received the input, questions, and concerns from the individual select board members, as well as from Janet Connolly, Cindy Markowitz, and Jim. I don't have his last name. Do you have
Jim Syak?
He has also provided me guidance, and he's one of the presidents of one of the homeowners association, and they are also in the process of forming. You're bringing all the three homeowners associations together so they can speak to me as well as the Water Resources Committee with one voice. So that's been very productive, those discussions and the work so far on the IMA. So that's where we are on that. And I should have more to report to you, more substantial report in 2 weeks.
Okay.
Great.
Anybody else?
Thanks for the update.
You're welcome.
Does anyone else want to report on anything? So, yes, go
I mean, the
ahead.
only thing I wanted to say is I just wanted to thank all the members of the RecCom for all the effort that they've been putting in to create the road race, the Boxborough Road Race on the 2nd of April. It's for a great cause. They're trying to rebuild parts of the playground at Blanchard School. So hope they get a great turnout.
Great. Yes, I agree. I think they will. I think there's been a lot of responses already. I just would like to say, I know the board authorized me to send a letter regarding the use of Zoom meetings. And I have to say, I have to confess, I did not feel very well last week, so I have not gotten it out. However, in the meantime, it did come to light that the House in the legislature of Massachusetts has voted to extend the ability to do all Zoom meetings at the end of 2025. Several bills have gone to the Senate. They're in the process of talking. Something is going to come out of this for sure. And it is my intention to contact Senator Eldridge's office this week. So I think we should have some extension of some sort, whether it's going to be an overarching bill, making this permanent with certain other caveats regarding the necessity for holding hybrid meetings, or whether it's just going to be a temporary extension for a couple of years while further legislation is worked out. That's unclear at this point, but there is definitely movement in that direction. Because quite honestly, the Massachusetts Municipal Association is lobbying heavily based upon the response from its participants. All towns seem to really like the Zoom option. And so I think, and I'm using Zoom, it could be anything at this point in terms of participation over the internet. So we should get some answers on this in the next couple of weeks. Anything else in terms of reports?
Just one thing, speaking of Zoom, tomorrow night there is a scheduled meeting of the Boxborough Leadership Forum. It was going to be a hybrid meeting. Because of the weather, it's going to be set up by Zoom. I believe that Maria sent that out today. I'm going to be attending that, and I'm going to speak on some of my thoughts as far as strategic alternatives and initiatives that we might take to enhance the forum.
Great.
Okay.
So we had an executive session noticed on the agenda. At this point, we have another session scheduled for 10 o'clock, an executive session scheduled for 10 a.m. on Wednesday that has been noticed. It is the feeling that given the number of minutes that need to be reviewed and discussed, that we will not go into executive session this evening, but that we will discuss all of these minutes. And we have a couple of other items in terms of contracts that have been put on that agenda for 10 a.m. on Wednesday morning. So at this point, do I
I'll
have
move to adjourn.
Well, hang on. I have a question for the chair. Given what you just said, Diana, do you anticipate the 10 a.m. Wednesday meeting to be a regular time frame or a longer meeting? Are we talking 1 hour or 2 hours?
Let's just look at the list of letters.
Two.
Yeah, it could be two.
Quite
but
a
maybe
long
we'll
list.
get through it more quickly. And it is my hope, part of the reason we're deferring this is because these things we're not having an opportunity to send it to you yet. So I want the board to see these minutes so we can discuss them, because we have to make a decision in terms of whether to release them or not. So
Yeah, you haven't sent them around yet, have you?
no, that's the
No.
reason. So
Okay.
that's why this, you should be getting them in the next day or so. And so at that point, we'll discuss them on Wednesday.
Okay.
So do we have a motion to adjourn? Did I hear that from you, Wes?
No, but I'll do it, or he can. I'll second it if he'd made it.
Okay. Is there any discussion? Okay, John,
Markowitz, aye.
Les,
Fox eye.
Wes,
Both aye.
and Lepari. And thank you. Welcome back to you, Wes, into the United States of America.